The Occupational Safety and Health Act 1994 provides the legislative framework for the safety, health, and welfare among all Malaysian workforces. The principle is to prevent and protect the workers against hazards and its risks in connection with their activities at work. It requires all companies to establish and document safety and health policy, duty of the employer, employees, and the safety and health officer. The Safety and Health Committee of Companies and Occupational Safety and Health Inspection and Officer. What is the conclusion that we get from the safety and health? We can conclude that Occupational Safety and Health Act 1994 is the good act implemented in Malaysia because this act can be as a guideline to the employers and also employees for securing the safety, health, and welfare of themselves at work. Besides that, this act also protecting employers and also employees against risks to safety or health in connection with the activities of person at work. So, everything that connected with the safety or health at workplace, the employers and employees can refer to this act to the responsibilities that they should take at their workplace, the procedure of enforcement and investigation, and so forth.
The continuous subtopic 2.1 History of Safety and Health at Work, where inside this segment there is the requirement a company to establish and documents needed is explained well, where the content includes of safety and health policy, duties of the employer, employees, and the safety health officers, the Safety and Health Committee of Company, Occupational Safety and Health Inspection and Officers. I will also discuss about the latest issue regarding safety and health, where this 2020 is very common with the latest virus, COVID-19, and the way to avoid COVID-19 to the employer and employee of a company. I also explain further about the Occupational Safety and Health Act 1994 OSHA, where the content of the OSHA is explained well.
For the summary of incident prevention, I can summarize that incident prevention have two concepts, which are accident as type of incident and accident and incident as a different type of event. Then, near miss is something that during the occurrence of an event, it did not cause any harm or death, but it potentially can. Then, there are few types of incident, which are like being caught in between mechanical or other objects, falling, slip, slide, collision, eruption or explosion, and burn. Then, there are a few immediate causes of accidents which are as follows. Firstly is the category of unsafe acts, such as protective equipment, guard, or devices that are provided but not used hazardous method of handling, improper tools or equipment not used despite the availability of the proper tools, and hazardous movement. Next category of unsafe conditions, for example, are ineffective safety device, no safety device although one is needed, hazardous housekeeping, equipment, tools or machine defective, and improper attire for job. Then we have contribution causes of incident, which are safety management, performance, mental condition of worker, and physical condition of worker. Next, we have the step of preventing incident. Firstly, we have the regular service and maintenance of equipment or tools at the workplace. For example, like schedule services and maintenance, which may detect any irregularities or any damage of equipment, device or tools at workplace. Next, we have establishing safety protocol at workplace. The examples are such as making it compulsory to wear protective gear at certain high-risk workplace department, or making it compulsory for everyone to wear safety boots or safety helmets at workplace. Next is having scheduled inspection on workplace by relevant authority. This is to make sure that the workplace condition and environment is safe and up to standard. Next is providing information regarding emergency precaution or steps when incident happen. This is to show the workers the proper way during emergency to handle life-threatening situation at workplace. Next is regular emergency drill or simulation practice for any failure such as power failure or machine failure. The last step is to implement ethical moral at workplace. For the next part is what should the organization do aftermath of any incident for preventing any future incident. Firstly is to secure the area where the incident occurred and all the debris or damaged structure or tools are cleared. Make sure the place is clean and completely safe for the workers. Next is investigations about accident to prevent them from happening again. This is where the safety committee can step in, where an investigation should be set up to find the cause of an incident and the effect that might have happened in a worst case scenario and try to prevent them from happening again. Extensive mitigation on the problem should be done to prevent it from happening again.
For the summarization of subtopic 2.2 Incident Prevention, I will cover on the aftermath of incident and example of past incident. For aftermath of incident, there are 7 types of aftermath of incident. The first one is annoyance. Annoyance is an unpleasant mental state. The second one is production delays, which workplace is closed for a while. The third one is reduced quality, because they need to double the production. The fourth one is property damage. Well, incident can cause damage. The fifth one is minor injury. This does not threaten life. The sixth one is major injury. This requires hospital care. And the last one, number 7, is fatality, which lead to death. Next, I will cover an example of past incident. For example of past incident, the first one is Bhopal disaster. It happens in 3rd December 1984 in Bhopal, India. The cause is metal isocyanate, which is MIC gas leakage in the Union Carbide pesticide plant. People there suddenly have a hard time to breathe and their eyes are hurting. They also cough, vomit, and choking to death in the street. The second example is Chernobyl disaster. This happened on 26 April 1986, where the reactor number 4 in Chernobyl nuclear power station in Soviet Union exploded. The radiation get worse because more people have suddenly trouble breathing and vomiting on the streets. Most of the kids suffer from cancer from being exposed to the radiation. The last example of past incident is on Piper Alpha disaster. This happened on 6 July 1988 at the North Sea. The explosion caused the Piper Alpha to collapse and buried deep down under the ocean. 2/3 of the workers died in the incident. Some workers survived as they went out looking for another alternative way out rather than waiting in the canteen for help as supposed to.
The conclusion for subtopic 2.3, hazard, risk, and danger. It is important to have an awareness about the safety of the employees. Hazard is any kind of work that may cause safety risk that can cause harm. So hazard may present at a workplace and some are not. It is important for the employers to provide a safety working environment to their employee to avoid any harms and accident that will risk the employee. There are many types of hazards, and it falls under 4 categories, which is physical hazards, biological hazards, ergonomical hazards, and chemical hazards. It is important to have an identifying risk assessment, as it is to determine the employee may be at risk. The employer or a self-employed person may have their risk assessment to any jobs to avoid any accidents. There are also an examples of the risk assessment, which is called job hazard analysis, where the job hazard analysis tells you about the likelihood levels, the severity levels, and the risk category on the job hazard analysis. Job hazard analysis is important as it will evaluate any type of work and the controls that are needed in any steps that are taken in doing the jobs. The levels of the work is also taken as it will control the risk of the work, whether it is in different category of risk.
The conclusion for subtopic 2.4 under fire safety. Fire safety is a set of practices intended to reduce the destruction caused by the fire. There are 4 types of fire safety measures that can be included. First is those that are intended to prevent ignition of an uncontrolled fire. Second is those that are used to limit the development and effects of a fire after it starts. Third, those that are taught to occupants the buildings. The fourth and the last one is those that are planned during the construction of a building or implemented in structures that are already standing. Next is fire hazard. Fire hazard is a threat to fire safety, or it is a situation that increases the likelihood of a fire or may impede escape if the event fire occurs. Note that fire safety is a main component of a building safety, So it is very important to know what is the safety in the building. Next is under the fire department members. Fire department members, or also known as fire prevention officers, inspects buildings for violations of the fire codes alongside with the safety and health committee members. They also go into schools to educate children on fire safety topics in case of emergency happens. For the newcomers in the department members, the chief officer will train them, and he can also conduct inspections and do presentations in the school. That is all on presentation of summarization or conclusion in subtopic 2.4 under fire safety. Thank you for listening.
What is the conclusion that we get from first aid? We can conclude that accidents will always happen. Therefore, it is essential that wherever your location or working environment, you understand the importance of first aid supplies in order to ensure maximum safety for everyone involved. Without adequate first aid equipment, a simple, treatable injury could turn into something much more serious. First aid doesn't just help with recovery, it helps save lives. It's important to protect yourself from contagious illness and other hazards when providing first aid. To help protect yourself, you should always check for hazards that could put your safety at risk before approaching a sick or injured person. Next, avoid direct contact with blood, vomit, and other bodily fluids. Furthermore, wear protective equipment such as nitrile or vinyl gloves when treating someone with an open wound, or a breathing barrier when performing rescue breathing. Lastly, wash your hands with soap and water immediately after providing first aid care. In many cases, basic first aid can help stop a minor situation from getting worse. In the case of a medical emergency, first aid might even save a life. If someone has a serious injury or illness, they should receive follow-up care from a medical professional.
Now is the summary for safety committee. By terms, committee basically means a group of people who are responsible to make a decision for either individual or group. The quorum should consist chairman, secretary, and not less than half of the remaining members present. By referring to the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, the objectives of the committee is to foster cooperation and consultation between management and worker, identifying, evaluating, and controlling hazards at workplace. Secondly, an effective channel of communication to exchange ideas to solve occupational safety and health problems. Lastly, is to enhance interest and motivation of all groups and management and workers at workplace of work in safety and health. The duties of safety committee are as follows. Firstly is developing safety work practices. Secondly is developing written safety programs. The third is facilitating safety training. The fourth point is workplace self-inspections. And lastly, accident investigations.